So I'm at my tax and asset protection event for real estate investors last month, and this gentleman walks up to me with a huge smile. And he says, "Hey, Clint, I love what you're saying about asset protection, but I'm already set." And I said, "Really, you are?" He goes, "Yes, I have a living trust. My houses are in it. My brokerage account is in it. Everything I own is in the name of my living trust. I am completely bulletproof." And guess what, guys? It's not just him. I get emails every single week that start with the same sentence. My assets are already protected because they're in a living trust. You know, it just kills me to hear this because the person has been sold a half truth. Listen, they've probably spent several $1,000s on a beautiful leather-bound binder called an estate plan, their living trust, and they think it's going to be a force field to protect their assets in the event of a lawsuit. They think this because they have this trust that maybe the IRS can't touch them, that a tenant can't sue them. And if they're in their nursing home, well, the nursing home or the state cannot take their estate. I'll tell you what, none of that is reality, all right? See, a revocable living trust, it's a fantastic vehicle. Okay, what does it do for you? It avoids probate. If you watch any other videos on my channel, you know I have several videos on the benefits of using a living trust. But what a living trust is not is an asset protection vehicle. And this is what you need to understand. I often joke with people when that gentleman came up to me and he said he has asset protection. I said, "No, you don't. But do you want it for your living trust?" He said, he got confused. I said, "Do you really want asset protection for your living trust?" He said, "Well, yeah, that's why I set it up." I said, "Great, then you need to die." And he looked at me and he was shocked. He goes, "What do you mean I need to die?" I said, "Well, that's the way it works. A living trust is revocable while you're alive. See, you're in control of both sides. And that's the problem. I call it the control trap. Here's what I'm referring to here. So when you set up a living trust here, all right, here's my living trust. And I am the trustee of my living trust. And I am the beneficiary. Okay, we'll just call that Benny. So any assets that I place in here, LLCs, all right, maybe I have cash inside of my living trust, I have my personal residence inside of here. You see, the way the living trust is set up is that you have complete control as the trustee. So you could distribute out, say this LLC that has a rental property, you can make a distribution to yourself. You can distribute yourself out cash. In fact, you can use these funds to pay your bills out of this trust. That is how it's designed intentionally. It gives you complete control while you're alive. You are the trustee, you are what we call the grantor, and you are the beneficiary. Okay, I'm just going to put Benny on here. So as long as you have all those controls over this document, any assets that are held inside of it is essentially you. So if somebody were to get hurt inside of on your property right here, and they would injure yourself. Let's say you have a party at your house and somebody's injured while they're at your home. They're going to sue you individually and they'll name your living trust, but it's essentially naming the trust is naming you. There is zero asset protection. They blow right through this and they come after you personally. Or here's another example. This just recently came up. I was speaking with someone, a client of mine, and they informed me that their son was riding a motorcycle at night. He's 14 years old, and he's involved in an accident with somebody, another pedestrian. Now, in that case, if a lawsuit were to develop, if they found that the individual on the motorcycle was at fault, then they're going to sue the parent, and then any assets the parent has in that living trust, they're going to be exposed to that lawsuit. Again, why are they able to reach into the trust and come after these assets? Because this type of trust is revocable, right? So anything that's held inside of there is reachable. It's not a barrier, right? You saw me, I drew a little LLC here. That's the only barrier they have inside of here. That is, if they sued this individual, that LLC may protect their rental property, but everything else directly in the name of the trust, that's going to be exposed. You see, in order to make this work, in order to provide your assets, you need to make this trust, convert it from a revocable trust, which is what you have when you created a living trust, turn this into an irrevocable trust. But in order to make it an irrevocable trust, you have to give up control. And you have to set it up in a state that recognizes a self-settled asset protection style trust. Now, that's not what we have here with your living trust. Now, that's only one of the problems that we run into here. The other problem that you face, in which there's people are under this false illusion that this is going to protect them in the event they have to apply for Medicaid benefits. Maybe they're going to go into a nursing home. And so they've worked hard for over 40 years and they don't want to lose their assets when they go into the nursing home, because Medicaid has a spend down, which requires that you spend down your assets to a certain level before it will kick in. Or if it does kick in, then it'll come back and the government will say, well, you have to pay us back these funds. Now, long-term care can get quite expensive. It can be $12,000 to $18,000 a month and sometimes. And so in those situations, when you have assets in a living trust, that will not protect you. They'll look at your assets and say, hey, that living trust, that $600,000 home you have, that $400,000 brokerage account inside of there, and say, great, you have $1 million. Use that to pay your bill. Now, if you don't use that money and you apply for benefits and you get those benefits, then they'll come back and they'll take them from you. So you see, a living trust provides zero asset protection here. If you're looking for asset protection, then what you need in this instance, rather than using an asset protection trust like I talked about just to protect your assets, what you'll want to set up is a Medicaid asset protection trust. We'll call this a MAPT. Now, a Medicaid asset protection trust is typically what it's done here. Again, it's an irrevocable trust that in which you transfer assets into it. But those assets have to be transferred in 5 years before you need benefits. That's a general rule. So this is the thing. Okay, again, this is an irrevocable trust, and it's set up 5 years before you get sick and you're going to need to apply for benefits. If you apply for benefits before that 5-year mark, then this trust will not protect you. And so a lot of people fall into this trap that thinking, oh, I've got a living trust now and I'm just fine. And it's not that way. So what is the answer? Well, the answer is this. A living trust is a probate shield. It's a privacy shield. It provides a mechanism by which you can create continuity for future generations. But it doesn't provide asset protection while you're here today. It will when you pass on. So if your concern is that you want a lawsuit shield, you want to protect yourself today, what you need to do is build on the foundation of your legacy or your living trust, which is your legacy, and start putting in plan or entities that will protect your assets. And so understanding how these tools work is extremely important. So in my example, if somebody came to me and they said I had a living trust like this, that's their living trust, then what I'm going to tell you to do for asset protection purposes, I'm going to say, hey, let's look at what you got. You have that $400,000 brokerage account I was talking about, then we want to create a Wyoming limited liability company and put that $400,000 in there. You have a few rental properties, great. Then I want to create some LLCs for each of your rental properties, and we're going to put those rentals into those limited liability companies. And ideally, I'd like to see those held by a separate Wyoming limited liability company like this. Oh, you have a personal residence. Great. Let's put your personal residence into a residence trust for some anonymity. And again, put that into your living trust. So what we're doing now is we're creating the shield, but it's inside of the trust. So what I mean by that is that your asset protection is coming from this right here, these entities right here, everything that I marked in green, that's where your asset protection is coming from. It's not coming from the living trust. The living trust is not doing anything for you while you're alive other than providing protection if you're incapacitated. But it's ensuring that if something were to happen and somebody does sue you, taking that motorcycle example again that I brought you, they could go after you, go after your trust, but then all of the boxes you've seen that I've put inside of here, that's going to stop them from reaching your assets. Listen, when I talked to that gentleman, I walked him over to the side and I said, hey, you heard what I've been talking about this entire time. I know you don't want to pass away. You have got a lot of life left in front of you. What you want to do is make sure that those assets are there to support you for the remainder of your life. And if you're resting your asset protection on your living trust, that's not going to be there for you when you need it. What you need to do is use the right types of structures that actually protect your assets and wrap those under your living trust, because that is your estate plan, not your asset protection plan. Listen, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. And if you know of other people out there that need to hear this information because they've told you, hey, I'm protected because I have a living trust, forward them a link to my video. The more people that start to understand this and debunk the information that is out there on the Instagrams and the TikToks where people are saying, hey, just set up a living trust and all you need, the better protected we all become. Take care.